This is Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by the WBA featherweight champion Leigh Wood. Leigh, how you doing?
Not too bad, mate. Sorry for the settings. I'm just in a bit of a rush, so just charging my cars.
No, not a problem. It's good for the environment, so happy days. Um,
That's it, saving the world and all that.
yeah, one car at a time. Um, I guess you've had a couple of pieces of good news in recent times. First being that the WBA ordered yourself and their super champion Leo Santa Cruz to finally merge the two belts, a fight you've been calling for a long time. But then that was followed up by perhaps even better news that Santa Cruz and his team want the fight and are accepting it. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm buzzing. That's the fight that I wanted. Like I said, anyone above me, anyone in that top 10, really. So let's see how it pans out. Boxing's full of twists and turns, so you never know what's going to happen. There's a lot more hurdles to overcome, boxing politics, but yeah, it looks like we're on the right track for the big fight.
Now we know Santa has given you your gift, but is he coming to town? That's the question. Will it be in Nottingham? Will it be at the City Ground? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, the City Ground probably not, just because of the time of year.
Yeah, the season.
The football's kicking back off, and by the time it comes off, probably be a little bit cold. I know we're all buzzing with the heat wave at the minute, but it won't last. So yeah, I mean, for me to fight this City Ground, there's a small window for me to do that, and I think it's around May time. So yeah, probably won't be there. So we'll see how it pans out. Like I said, there's more hurdles to overcome. But I'm confident it's gonna happen.
What are those hurdles? What have you got in mind that could kind of throw some twists and turns still?
Obviously there's the split that they've put out, which is quite ludicrous, saying that he's not boxed that weight for 3 years, so it favours him massively. Um, but look, I want this fight, and there's not a lot going to get in my way, so hopefully, I can sort it out.
Now, you were the underdog for a lot of people going into Kanzu and also against Conlon in some quarters. Do you expect to be the underdog once again against Santa Cruz, or will people have wised up now?
No, I think I'll be a massive underdog as always. I think I will be going forward in most of these big fights just because of the fact that I've got them blemishes on my record. Um, People don't like to forget about them. People don't like to see how much you've improved. And under my new coach and my new tutelage of Ben and my team that I've got around me now, it's just something that's going to stay with me, I guess. But it's probably a blessing for me because, like I said, I get overlooked by a lot of people, and especially the bookies. And my friends make a few quid every time I fight now, so it's quite good.
What do you make of Leo Santa Cruz? You talked about how long it's been since he fought the weight. Is he still the Leo Santa Cruz of old, in your view?
I mean, he's got the experience, hasn't he? He's got the experience being in them big fights, and his style. He's a busy fighter, punches and bunches. Um, is mixed with good company, and he's doing really well against Javante Davis as well before the knockout. So you know he has got plenty left, and people say, "Oh, he's past it," but there's 7 days. I'm actually 7 or 8 days older than him. So there's nothing in it age wise. But like I said, he's been in all the fights, but that gives him a lot of experience. So yeah, I mean, I'm expecting him to be at his best, like you would do any fight. And what he's got left is down to him.
You're a big featherweight, though, and a big punching featherweight as well. Do you expect that to be key, especially against someone who's a few years not older than you, but old into their career, maybe less fresh than you?
Possibly, but like I don't think it's going to be the biggest factor. One of the things that is my biggest asset is my team and the research that they do and the game plans that I have. That's what always unravels my opponents. And my power is a big part of that. Getting my power off at the right time, in the right places, in the right moments, is my biggest asset. But that's down to my team and down to my game plans and the breakdowns of the fights. Looking at my opponent and being honest and saying, right, what are they good at? What are they not so good at? What am I good at? And how can I get that off? And how can I nullify them? That's my biggest asset.
And talking about that team, we've talked about them in the past. Give us an idea of kind of who does what in the team, how those duties are broken down between the different members of the squad.
So Lee Weil is a video analyst guy. He'll look at the styles and he'll in great detail, I mean great detail, pick out things to do regular, things that habits have got, that could be ring position. It can be ticks they've got after fights, after throw, they might throw a few punches to do a certain thing. Might like to have favorite shots. They might have habits where they circle off, or literally it can be anything, and he will find them over numbers and numbers of fights. He'll watch videos and hours of footage to get them, and he'll break things down to the simplest way of putting it to me is this is what he's good at. This is what he's not so good at. This is what he doesn't like. This is how he capitalize. And then show examples of me doing that in them gaps, and then that's where Ben will implement it and drill it with me to then things I need to do, things I need to stay away from, because what he's good at doing this will benefit him, what he likes to do. In a nutshell, basically that's it. The Barry's an important part of the team as well. Barry takes the pads, and he gets on our conditioning as well, make sure we're not slacking, and pushes us really hard. And just work really well as a team.
And do you do all the S&C in-house, or do you have a separate S&C coach?
Everyone's different. Everyone uses different strength and conditioning people. I know Josh and Lee McGregor use Dan, who's very good, and I think Shabazz is using someone from up at his area. But I like to keep everything in house and let Ben do my strength and conditioning, just because I've personally find it's better. You know when you need to push a little bit, when you're sparring, so you can drop things. It's just easier to gauge things and see what you're doing. Unless you've got a really good relationship with your strength and conditioning coach and you're talking hourly, it's very hard to communicate and get that information forward and back.
And what about nutrition? Who does that for you?
Do that myself.
Yeah.
I've done that myself for a number of years now. Like I said before in previous videos, I paid someone to do it, and I didn't like it. I want where I was getting, and I've done a lot of courses, sports science, access to universities. I've done it to a high level of sports and nutrition, so I know what I'm doing, and it's just more of getting the experience, doing it camp by camp, and finding better ways, because you're always learning. Like anything, there's always another way you can do it. So you're always trying different things, and over the last 10 years, I've got it down to a fine art.
I want to reflect a little bit on your first defence against Mick Conlon. Absolutely compelling fight. How much gratification do you get, not just from pulling out the win, but for it being so highly regarded, fight of the year contender?
It's nice to hear them things. But at the same time, I said this before the fight, but I don't want this to be my peak. I don't want this to be my greatest night. It was a really good night. It was my best night to date, the best win to date, and the dramatic fashion that I won. But at the same time, that's not my height. That's not my biggest fight. That's not going to be my biggest fight, my best win. There's going to be bigger and better wins. So yeah, it is nice to hear that. And everywhere I go, they just want to talk about that. And the first thing they say is, "Wow, the knockout, he knocked him out of the ring," and all this. And it is nice, but I'm also looking forward to getting another win and that being talked about, because I've just about heard enough of that night.
It's very there's
I can only imagine what Mick feels like. He must feel, because on the other end of it, I'm on the winning side of it, and I'm getting bored of it. So no, it is nice. It's nice.
there's kind of parallels there with Carl Froch as well, who's also from Nottingham, because in his first defence of his first world title, he got Jermaine Taylor. And it was quite similar in that he struggled a bit early on and then got that final round knockout in very dramatic fashion.
Yeah, very similar, and he got it in the dying seconds, and it must be in the water. It must be in the water. You know, I've got a lot of similarities with Carl. The same amateur club, the same school, the same little village. Got the same middle name. There's so many. I was reading his book once, and there's so many similarities. It's quite frightening, like things he went through growing up, and very similar. But personality-wise, I think we're totally different. I went for a run with him not long ago for a charity run, and we was talking, having a laugh on that. And he's a great guy, Carl is. But personality-wise, we are slightly different.
Did he try and convince you the earth was flat?
He tried for the whole time I was running. No, he didn't.
Yeah, can you imagine?
No. Yeah, I think that's more Lee. Lee will push that on you. Leigh Froch more than Carl. But yeah, they do love the flat earthers and conspiracy theories. They love it, don't they?
What do you make of how much credit and deserved credit you've had for your behaviour after the Conlon fight, and also after Josh Warrington's fight with the title winning fight rematch with Kiko Martinez? Because you kind of You were very careful to make sure Conlan was okay after your fight. And then with Josh, you refused to take away any of his spotlight on what was his big night.
Yeah, because he went for, in my eyes, I seen it as like he went through quite a lot. Obviously, defeat to Law, then the court, and you know, he'd had a torrid time as of late, and that was his big night. He's two-time world champion, and I don't know what the zone wanted me to do. They wanted me to run in the ring and DDT him or something, but they was pushing me up. They was pushing me up, and I didn't really want to go. And they said, "No, you got to go. You got to go." And I was thinking, they want something daft here, but that's not me. I'm not being someone I'm not. So I got up and just let him enjoy his night, and you know, that's a fight that I'd like. But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You don't need me swearing and shouting and pissing a load of people off for it to happen, because that's not, in my eyes, that's not going to get the fight any closer. I mean, it's a fight that everyone wants to see because of who we are in the ring, not outside the ring. So I think that fight will happen eventually. And me doing that on something out of character is not going to bring that fight any closer, in my opinion. So I just kept true to myself and didn't jump out of character.
Well, at least we now know DDT would be your move of choice if you move into wrestling. You know, came
I
to
mean,
mind very
if
quick
if
there.
he'd have if he'd have gave me a lot of shit, then maybe I'd have gave it him back. But I don't think he's like that. And the same with the Conan night. You know, when I landed the punch and I spun round, you know, the feeling of like finally I nailed him. I knew I was going to do it. I knew it was going to be late, and I finally got him. And that joy, that moment for a few seconds was unbelievable. And then someone said, "Look, he's not all right," and is I looked over, I couldn't see him, but I seen like the gas, the oxygen, and all that, and the paramedics. Then straight away I thought, you know what, he might not be all right. And if I'm here celebrating and something bad happens to him, um, you know, like Watson or someone like that, something that's life changing, and he's got kids, and I'll never forgive myself. So you know, I tried to just cut my celebration short as soon as I could, and then tried to let the like quiet the crowd down so the paramedics could do a better job. And you know, because I don't, like I said, I'm not going to celebrate until I know he's all right. And it was hours, and in fact, it was the next day, because even later on they said, "Oh, look, he's up, he's responsive, he's conscious, and we're just waiting for a brain scan." And even then, I was like, "Well, we still don't know if it's going to be all right." And then I went to the next morning when I spoke to him when I felt better. There's a few videos going around. I think Barry cracks, after we found out it was all right, Barry cracks a bottle of champagne, and I still wasn't celebrating. I didn't feel like celebrating until when he was all right. And I think anyone would have done that in that situation.
That's very classy. And from what I've seen on Twitter, you're pretty happy to see him back out as well next week.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, once I knew he was all right, and I spoke to him, and I seen it's the same old Mick that still giving me shit and saying that he won every round and I landed a lucky shot. Obviously, then now it's my time to share the knockout of folding him and fold him in half. And you know, it's the opposite. He's all right now. He's fighting again, and you know, that video's done big numbers many times on my Instagram and other people's. But yeah, he's back out, and he's a good fighter. He's a brilliant fighter. And they want the rematch. I want the rematch. But like I said before to the people, I deserve a bigger fight. I've earned a bigger fight, so we're going to give him a few big fights, and then we'll have that rematch and give him a shot again. Because like he said, he had a great night, and he got stopped later on. In his opinion, he was winning the fight. In my opinion, I couldn't have had a worse night and still got the job done. So if you look at it on both sides, it's a massive second fight. So I'm going to do it again. I can do a better job. He thinks he can do the same job again, but finish the night. So yeah, let's do it.
Great stuff. Now, what are the remaining goals for you? You? Like you said, you didn't want that to be your peak. Santa Cruz hopefully will be next. But what's the overall goals before you do decide it's the end of the career?
Yeah, I just want to be in them challenging fights, really. The fights where the fans and the pundits and everyone else just keeps writing me off, and just proving people wrong. And I just want a big name, a legitimate name where it's like someone says, right, you beat this kid, then we're gonna give you respect. And I think it's took me this long to get there, but I think I'm one fight away now from that kind of fight. You know, Santa Cruz, Warrington, Navarrete, one of them top 10, top six even. That's what I want to beat. And I've got a few years left in boxing, probably 2 years, maybe 3 fights. So I want to make them as big as possible, and not just as big as possible, but as challenging as possible.
So if you had a choice between unifying the division or going up and being a 2-weight world champion, which would you do?
Unify,
Yeah.
unify, definitely, yeah. Because I feel like I've grown into this weight, and I do everything so well now. Made the weight so well. Um, you know, I'm fairly strong for the weight. I'm a big puncher for the weight. Moving up in weight, I can still crack for the weight, but um, it's a whole new advantage of giving your opponent, because I probably wouldn't be as big for that weight and as established, and it'll probably take time again to go into it. So, you know, I think everything's banging at featherweight. I'm not finished here yet. I've got more work to do.
Good stuff. Well, I hope it all gets signed and sealed sooner rather than later. And yeah, let's have another chat when it is.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me, mate. I'll talk to you soon.
Anytime, mate. Take care.